Yeah.
Yeah.
So Hotline Miami 2, the long-awaited sequel. It's a much bigger, broader, and in some ways more varied game than the original, but in some ways less focused. If you remember the original game, it's probably about 3 hours long if you weren't that good at it, or took a while to learn how to play it, or fell into some of the many bugs that were in the PC version like I did. It took longer than that, but I think most people who played the PlayStation versions probably could have clocked it in about 3 hours. Hotline Miami 2 is a lot bigger, it's a lot longer, it's trying to tell a more complex story, I'd say. Successful in some ways, quite unsuccessful in other ways. I think the caption writing, the story is just told through brief bits of dialogue, is way worse in Hotline Miami 2 than the original. It's there's an economy of words in the first game that it just kept a real sense of mystery, and it didn't really matter that it wasn't very congruous. But here, there's the interplay between characters. It's really badly written. They should have just got someone in who's a native English speaker. I'm assuming it was written by someone in a second language, just to tidy that stuff up, because they spend so much time on the rest of the aesthetics. Like the visuals are very cool, obviously that top-down, very old-fashioned style of visuals, but the animation and everything like that, and the detail's amazing, and the music's absolutely incredible. So it is kind of funny that the writing is subpar, but it's not a huge issue. And I think it's a game that's going to split opinion, and I think that's something that we're going to find out even in the course of this video. I love the game, I really do. I think pretty much from the off, I enjoyed the way each different level, you play as multiple characters in the game, and the different characters sort of lead to the different types of levels that you're going to come up against. There's one character who can only carry a limited amount of ammo and has to reload that as like a soldier character. There's different guys with different masks. You can choose between a few of them on certain levels, and they have kind of wildly different playstyles. One guy with 2 machine guns. There's one where there's actually 2 characters in one with a gun, one with a chainsaw. They're fucking awesome. And then there's some levels which are sort of more classically Hotline Miami, where you can kind of shoot and melee and do all that stuff. I think some people are going to run into trouble with the bigger levels and the longer lines of sight. You will start early on getting killed a lot off screen.
Yeah. And
I think the game actively encourages you to use the look ahead and the lock on. That's how I played the first game, learning it on PC and then moving to Vita. So I didn't really have that bad a transition. And while I got clipped a few times off screen, obviously you die a lot in Hotline Miami anyway, that's part of it. I started to understand that they deliberately designed a lot of the levels sort of as puzzles with not a single path, but in some instances you have to kind of work out, knowing that there's going to be enemies ahead and looking for little alcoves that you can duck into before you can look ahead to see them. It's a kind of it's going to be a divisive choice, I think. It's certainly not every level that's like that. Some are classic Hotline Miami, where you can just go and improvise. Some are a bit more restricted. I think that's kind of a symptom of creating a larger and longer game, and I can understand why they didn't just want to do 10 hours of palette swapped Hotline Miami levels. They wanted to try and do something different. I have had a few levels where I thought it really isn't as good as it could have been, but some of the high points are as good, if not better, than anything in the first game. Is it better than the first game? I don't know. Probably not. That first game really is almost perfect in so many ways. But I certainly for one appreciate everything that Dennerton tried to do in broadening the game, and have loved a large part of Hotline Miami 2. Even though in so many ways it is a very, very similar game, for people who've played the Hotline Miami a lot, the differences are pretty noticeable. But I'm a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I do like it a fair bit, but the whole way through, I was just constantly being torn between being really thrilled and thinking that it was at least as good as the first one, versus kind of thinking it was actually quite badly designed. And I think it does suffer in comparison to the original, because that was pretty much perfect. That was a game that felt like its creators had almost bled over it in order to hone it to that state. And there's something a little bit callous and a little bit kind of arrogant about Hotline Miami 2, and at times it's so unfocused that it felt like it was a game that wasn't made by the original creators. It was made by another team who perhaps maybe didn't wholly understand why the original was so good. I do think a few too many of the missions are too long, and the fact that there's no mid-mission save points is a little bit much, because some sections took me upwards of an hour. You know, there was one instance where I just wanted to go to bed. I'd done 2 floors, I was on the 3rd, but it was taking forever.
Yeah.
In the end, I just had to lose that progress, and that just felt unduly harsh. And I think guns are way too prevalent. Were they this prevalent in the first game? Guns everywhere. Everyone's got guns.
No, I think it is more gun heavy and gun happy than the first game. Yeah.
Yeah. I found that a little bit exhausting. And to be honest, I enjoyed the game the most when I started wearing the mask that has when you're the character with the one-hit melee attacks, which can't pick up weapons. That was kind of my way of making it feel a little more pure, I suppose. And like you said, I mean, some of it's just cheap. You know, getting shot from a room 3 rooms over through 3 panes of glass by an enemy you can't see, that's bullshit. I mean, it wouldn't matter so much if the enemies were stationary, but they're patrolling, and sometimes you start a level and they're in a completely different place patrolling, so there's no real way of telling it. I died in Hotline Miami 2 many times where the only thing I could attribute the death to was just, hey, you know, I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And I don't think I was ever, even once, at the wrong place at the wrong time in the first game, because you were essentially always at the wrong place at the wrong time, because that's why it was so exciting. I mean, on your first attempt of a level in the first game, with your back against the wall, 4 enemies in the room, you wouldn't stand a chance. And then by the 5th or the 6th attempt, you dispatch them in the blink of an eye without even thinking about it, and that was exciting. Hotline Miami 2 does offer that kind of excitement, but it's diluted by stuff that either feels quite sloppy or just plain misguided. And misguided, speaking of misguided, the story is just a waste of everyone's time. Like you said, it's a really badly written slog that's... The sole intention of it is to create a really kind of grim and sordid atmosphere, but you can do that without making people sit and read really unbelievably inane text interjections.
Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah, the dialogue's so poor. I mean, people say, we got to go do a job. Don't talk to me. It's just like, it's not... I read all of that stuff thinking 4 out of 5 of those lines of dialogue could just be cut out. They don't tell... They don't add anything. It's strangely inane. It kind of felt like it's a story made by people who that certainly don't appear to be natural storytellers at all. And I advise everyone who plays Hotline Miami that you're really not missing anything by skipping that stuff. And there are also little kinks in it that I never experienced the first time in the first game. I only played the first game for the first time on Vita. I know that at launch on PC there were problems with the first game, but I couldn't finish a really, really tough level because an enemy had glitched into part of the scenery at one point. There was another mission where I cleared the place out. I planned my attack perfectly. I'd done it many, many times, and then 2 enemies blatantly respawned because I'd counted the enemies. I'd done it so many times, and then just the 2 enemies had just respawned. I thought that was, unfortunate, but at the end of the day, these things don't massively matter. I still recommend the game. There is brilliance in it, and it's frequently thrilling like no other game, and the soundtrack, like you said, is absolutely tremendous. But it's slightly bloated and slapdash, which I wasn't expecting after the first one. So it's imperfect, whereas the first was pretty much perfect. And it is strange to play a game that's so often reluctant to play to its own strengths. That, like I said, it does feel like it was occasionally made by other people. But when it's good, the criticisms basically mean jack shit, you know?
Yeah, and for me, it was the large majority of the time was that. And it's only a small amount of time was the other stuff. But I think I liked it a little bit more than you. But well, I'm glad to hear that you do like it, because at first you texted me and said that you weren't enjoying it at all.
Yeah, no, at first I wasn't, but once I got my head around it, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm in the same boat as you. The bad stuff is far outweighed by the good stuff. I guess I'm just being sort of harsh on it because the first one was so unbelievably good. But I definitely recommend this, 100%.